clearly we've got it wrong. Clearly society has had it wrong for decades. The whole low fat, let's avoid fat, fattest nation in the world, right up there with America, diabetes through the roof, heart disease, cancer.
Yeah, he's large and in charge. We all know that this is his bar. He's falling on the floor, crawling out the door. We don't lose it now.
For my whole life, I've thought that eating low-fat food was the healthy option, and that fat actually makes you fat. But what if fat isn't the problem? What if it's the solution? So I've got a plan to base my diet just around fat and not eat any pasta, bread or grains.
Right.
And I'm going to try and cycle from here to Melbourne.
Jeez. Okay. That's
You're insane.
no sugar, no carbohydrates. So what are you gonna eat? Salad.
You'll be very tired.
What would you eat if you were going to do 6 hours exercise tomorrow?
6 hours. I don't know. Carbs maybe?
I would say a lot. Probably a lot of carbohydrates as well.
Well, I know there's the whole thing about carb loading the day before you do something to do with endurance. A lot of food. Lots of carbs, lots of fibre.
Do you think I'll make it without eating carbs? It's the challenge of it, really, that for me, you know, I've always liked push bikes and riding anyway, so for me it's definitely just going to be a challenge, and I suppose that's why I chose to ride across the country. You know, something people think's outrageous, but for me, I've always wanted to do it. One of my goals when I came over to WA was to get a job in the mining industry, buy a house, find a wife, and then ride my bike back to Melbourne. that was my goals, and I got through most of them.
So the high-fat diet, basically the whole idea is your body gets used to burning fat for fuel rather than carbohydrate, but you can't have fat with carbohydrate. If you've got high fat and high carb, that's just going to lead to heart disease and diabetes.
The traditional diet that people ate probably for thousands of years was what they could gather and what they could catch. Around 35 years ago, we were all told we've got to move away from that and reduce fats in our diet. So going back to a lower carb, higher fat diet is essentially going back to what people normally did. It's cutting out a lot of the grains, cutting out a lot of the processed foods, and having more of your calories, something like 50-60%, coming from fats and proteins, and a much smaller amount coming from carbohydrates.
So I was down at the Roosters Footy Club and talking to my mate Creedy, who is obviously a nutritionist and works in the FIFO industry as well, and I had a chat to him about what sort of diet I should look at doing, you know, given I'm going to be carrying everything, all my cooking equipment, all my food and water on my bike. You know, what should I be looking at for nutrition wise? And Creedy sort of mentioned the low carb, high fat diet, and we had a bit of a chat about it, and everything he said made sense, but it wasn't really that I've never had a diet in my life, so I was a little bit apprehensive to it. But then chatting to Chika and Hutto down there and seeing the results that they've got over the off season, and to see how they've changed and how healthy they are, it seems like a great idea.
Yeah, with me, I've pretty much always eaten whatever I wanted because I've done so much sport. So when I tore my ACL, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stack it on, because I just eat a lot of food, and whatever it is, I'll just shovel it in. Yeah. And Creedy picked me out one day, took me to the physio, and was like, I got something for you, I want you to give it a try. It'll help you keep the weight off and make you feel really good.
Just over a week before I started feeling like really good energy levels incredible.
Your motivation,
I mean, that might
always be there.
That might be the biggest aspect.
Get up and good to go. You're not on a, have a cold shower to wake me up or whatever, you'll be up, ready to go, pump it out, and your team self-morale will be high.
Exactly, because you're physically fit, even though this is going to help you tenfold, but it's going to be a big mental battle going all those Ks, and you're on the right track with this diet.
Yeah, you'll smash it out and you'll be feeling great, so you won't have any problems. Other than maybe a punctured tyre or something.
No, come on now. Just like macadamia in it. No, I'm telling you, I fix anything.
My mates were really helpful, but none of them had tried to ride a push bike across Australia. So I decided to get some professional advice before I put my health on the line.
Now, I've taken the blood pressure a few times. Is this because you're just talking and all that? Your blood pressure is a bit on it's 138 is on the higher side of normal. As a rule, when you do your bike ride, you can burn fat as energy, but you still need the carbs to drive the fat. Okay? If you don't have the carbs, you won't burn fat.
Okay.
Understand that?
Yep.
Okay. So, because the basic building block of energy, because you need to have carbs as well. So we don't want you to be too lean. So you can have the fat to put up the fat now, but when you cycle, you still need the carbs while you're cycling, so that you can use your fat at the same time.
So if I'm not having any carbohydrates at all, or a very minimal, say 5% of my diet is a carbohydrate, will I be able to access, will I have any energy at all?
No, because your brain burns only sugar for energy. So your concentration, your motivation, all driven with the carbohydrate. So if you burn, and your muscles love carbs also, okay? So if you deplete your glycogen store too much during the day, your blood sugar level can drop too much. And then that will affect your concentration and your drive motivation a bit.
The general advice that I'm getting is that I can't function properly without carbs, but that's not what I've seen with my friends who seem to be actually thriving without them. So many carbs already.
The less your sugar levels gyro, your glucose levels correctly in the bloodstream gyrate, and the less gyration there is of your insulin level, for most people they're going to find their energy levels, their focus, their concentration, it's just going to be a little bit more smooth through the course of the day. The body doesn't actually need carbs. There's nothing in carbohydrates that the body can't make itself, so therefore it's not essential. To that extent, if you're putting into the body what it needs, so it's getting its vitamins, its minerals, it's getting an energy source, then regardless of whether you're a sports person or a lay person, it really doesn't matter what your situation is. If you're putting the right sort of fuels into your body in the right proportions, you're going to do quite well. There isn't a one size fits all, but overall, if you're getting more of your calories from good quality fats and protein and less from grains, then really pretty much for everybody, there's going to be some benefits.
The reason I wanted to chat to you guys about your diets as professional sportswomen, what it is that you eat, whether it's training throughout the week or pre-match, and what you've been taught from nutritionists through the club, through your years of experience in the Aussie team.
I think when we came through, it was pretty clear cut that it's a lot about carbs, having balance, but for athletes, I think carbs is a real focus.
I think in some respects I agree with the full fat sort of aspect to it, but whether or not there's got a lot of cholesterol, if there's any other sort of health side effects, that's what I'm still not 100% sold on. So every individual is different though, and I'm not going to sit here and say, no, you shouldn't do it. I don't have enough education in that area, but I think, given the history of what we've learned, it probably wouldn't have been something that I would necessarily come up with or say, good on you.
Cholesterol is actually really, really important. So your liver produces about 2 grams a day because it's needed for your brain, your nerves, every cell membrane. It's a precursor to most of your hormones, vitamin D production. It's essential.
Last year, the US Dietary Advisory Panel stated, and it didn't get a lot of publicity, that cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern. So again, we've been told for many years that cholesterol in the diet is a problem, but very quietly it's been removed as a problem in the diet. Cholesterol is in every single cell of the human body. It's part of the cell wall, and it forms the basis for a number of hormones. The concern has been that too high a level of cholesterol in the bloodstream is a risk factor for heart disease, but for a lot of populations, particularly around the Mediterranean, even though their cholesterol levels are quite elevated, they have low rates of heart disease. So for most people, and there are exceptions, for most people, cholesterol in the diet is not something to be feared.
So you've got HDL and LDL. Most people know that HDL is good cholesterol and LDL is bad cholesterol. But it's not as simple as that, like most things in the body. So LDL is only a problem if it's oxidized. And the way it gets oxidized, basically we're just talking chemical reactions here, which your whole body is a series of, is in the presence of sugar. So again, the key is lower the carbohydrates. We don't want 60% like the government is still recommending of the diet. You want a whole lot less than that. A little bit, fruit and vegetables, basically. You've got to have your vegetables, but much more fat. And it's not going to affect your blood lipids in a negative way. In fact, it does the reverse. Why do we eat the way that we do? We've been brainwashed. I mean, food companies have massive marketing budgets. It's for profit. All the food on the shelf, barcodes, it's for longevity, shelf life of food. It's for company profit.
History shows that in the 1960s, argument raged between different camps about whether fats in the diet or sugars in the diet were the problem. And those who believed fats in the diet won the day. And that then led to some political involvement where, particularly in the United States, the grain states had more sway than the cattle states. And so there was a fair degree of political push, as well as from certain sort of academics and researchers, to say we need to come up with guidelines that say, yes, we want to have people cutting out fats in the diet, all based on this notion that cholesterol in the diet was a problem. And the original research that was done is actually quite flawed and arguably worse than that. The people selected the bits that made it look good.
Zero carbohydrates. Traditionally believed the healthier option, full cream, Margaret River as well. Local goodness.
So it used to be breads and cereals at the bottom, 6 to 8 serves a day. But they've now changed it so that the breads and cereals are on the second level. So it's fruit and vegetables and then breads and cereals. So it's still totally carbohydrate all over the bottom of the food pyramid. Yeah, but it's improving.
I think across the board, when we look at the food pyramid, somebody suggested if we just turned it upside down, we'd probably be fairly close to where we should be, and I think that's a reasonable take on the world. There was a write-up last year, I think in 2015, I could stand corrected, it was 2014, where some researchers went back and looked and essentially concluded, it's quite damning, this was in a fairly major American medical publication, that there was no basis whatsoever for the introduction of dietary guidelines which recommended a low-fat diet.
The thing that people can't get their head around is you want about 60% from fat, which is a lot. It's so much compared to what people are used to, and especially the people that go out there and consciously buy low-fat products. If you're having dairy, you want full fat. You want to absorb the nutrients from your food. There are fat-soluble vitamins that are so vital to your body. You cannot get those without fat. You need the fat to actually absorb those vitamins.
The biggest problem we have with low-fat foods is that when they take the fat out of the food, they have to put something else in, and what they've tended to put in is sugar. So when you look at a full fat versus a low fat, the number of calories per serve may be a little bit less, but the sugar content is higher. When we have more sugars and carbs in our diet, a couple of things happen. First of all, we don't feel as full because it's the fat content that tends to give us that feeling of I've had enough to eat. The other thing is that the more carbs and sugars we have, the more we release insulin from the pancreas. We release insulin in response to glucose and sugar being in the bloodstream, and the whole aim is to get that sugar out of the bloodstream. But we do that enough times over many days, weeks, months, years, eventually the body becomes insulin resistant. It's just been flogged by too much insulin. Insulin resistance is the first step towards type 2 diabetes. The other thing about insulin is that it inhibits the burning of fat and promotes the storage of fat. That's what it does. So for a lot of people, when they're on low-fat diets, they really do struggle to lose weight because the body is doing everything in its power to stop you burning fat.
60 to 70% fat, 15% protein. What does that leave? 15-20% carbohydrate, mostly from vegetables. You want it from vegetables.
My goal is to eat less than 60 grams of carbs per day, which is about the equivalent of 1 apple and a sports drink. On the other hand, for the purpose of this experiment, I'm going to take my diet more to the extreme. I'll try to get 80% of my daily calories from fats, which works out to be approximately 300 grams a day.
So what you want is ketosis. It's basically known as keto adaptation or being fat adapted. So where your body's learning to burn fat for fuel, and it uses that as its primary source of fuel. And as a consequence, when you're not eating, because you're not supposed to be eating all day, you'll start burning your body fat as well.
Hey boss.
Howdy.
How are ya?
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Boss, Trudy. How are you? And I hear you're the low carb, high fat guru.
I wouldn't say guru, but passionate and giving it a whirl myself, so yeah.
Super, thank you. Do you need a hand?
Yeah, go for it. What can you do? Can I trust you with this?
Yep.
Okay, Craig, is the car?
A little bit, but not really. It's only when I see something. There's this up and go sitting in the fridge that I had to turn over, so I'm looking at the bottom of it when I open the door, because I really want that up and go.
All your veg in that, we want to get as much fibre into what as possible, because if he's cutting his fruit, we're going to get less fibre, so just go nuts, say, on the veg.
In terms of eating fruit, fruit does have a sugar content. It's a natural sugar and it's tied up in a lot of fibre. So it's much better to have an apple and a glass of water than a glass of apple juice, which probably has the juice from about 4 apples. You're not likely to sit there and eat 4 apples one after the other. If people like fruit, and it does provide some vitamins and minerals, you can have a serve or two of fruit per day. As I said before, you don't have to cut it out completely. But if you're eating more than a couple of serves per day, you're back to that situation where you're probably giving your body more sugar than it really needs. So I think there's a lot of other things you can cut out before fruit. I wouldn't point the finger as fruit as the biggest culprit, because it will fill you up. An apple will fill you up a lot more than a donut. So cut out the donut, leave the apple.
Two weeks ago I would have imploded I ate breakfast every day, even getting up for swim training or pre-bridle swim. It's 4 in the morning and I have to put something in within the first half an hour. I'll get these grumbles and I'll get angry and I don't fare too well.
Yeah. Isn't it, how good is it with time?
Yeah.
Having to only eat a couple of times.
Yeah, for me, just work related, I'll eat at 7 and then I don't eat again until 2, and then I have a wee plate, like a bread and butter plate for tea. It's like when I knock off work.
And this is probably going to be real, to just use the fat stores and rather than have to eat something now and bring your blood sugars up.
That's it, and
that's going to be a massive benefit.
And with LCHF, you do it like Ryan said, you don't have to eat to function, because your body's adapted. So that's like a normal thing on an LCHF lifestyle. You can. It's not. You're not looking at the watch and I've got to eat now.
One of my initial concerns was that eating this way was going to be expensive. But into the second week I realised that the additional costs of eating real food over fillers like bread, pasta and cereals was easily offset by a reduction in my portion sizes and not snacking between meals. Some days I even skip lunch without realising it. I still can't get my head around the fact that bacon and eggs is better for me than a bowl of Weet-Bix. How you going, mate? Good. How are you? Yeah, not too bad. Check it out. This is my, I took the list that you gave us with the, for the high fat transition and then the pyramid here as well.
So you've dealt with this okay, alright.
So I start off with going with the veggies, so the above ground veggies, so
Yeah,
they're tasty.
So tomatoes, capsicum, nice one. Yeah, you've ticked boxes there.
Cool, meats, so chicken, skin on chicken as well.
Yep.
And pork belly, cream cheese, full cream milk.
Yep, full
It's
cream.
good.
Well, I think you're doing a really good job, particularly when you're so new to it.
In terms of weight loss, when you want to lose weight, you want to be burning fat. When you're releasing insulin in response to having meals that have got a higher carbohydrate and sugar level, the insulin is going to promote storage of fat and inhibit burning of fat. So people find, paradoxically, and again, jargon is a problem because we think, well, fat's in the diet, it must mean fat's on my, on my hips or on my stomach. But in actual fact, the body converts the glucose and sugars into the fats. So for most people, number one, they'll feel more full, so they don't eat quite as much. And number two, they're not putting their body into fat storage mode.
Goodness. Frozen berries, almonds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, coconut. Delicious. Bit of man salad, some chicken, bacon, egg, nuts, olives. Delicious. The Aussie Ploughmans, I'm calling this. A bit of low carb white wine. Pre-training salad lunch. Koopy, world's most delicious mayonnaise. Delicious. Breakfast of champions, eh?
Hey, Lynn, how you going? Good. I spoke to you. I did some reading, some research. I spoke to a few people about it. So it is fairly well known. Martin Noakes papers on this stuff, and again, most people says yes. A lot of the marathon runners, a lot of the long ultra marathon runners uses the same type of diet. As from the nutritionist point of view, dietitian point of view, they says that they not promoting it, okay? But if you wanted to, we will support you by saying make sure don't be too strict on carbs. Your cholesterol, it's really good, okay? The total cholesterol should be less than 5.5 versus 4.2, okay? And because of amount of exercise you do, your good cholesterol HDL is 2.1. Okay, normal should be between 1.1 to 3.5. So yours is normal.
Okay, I think that'll be the interesting one. At about averaging at 24 to 30 eggs a week. So
okay.
We'll see.
Your bad cholesterol LDL is the bad one. So this is more related to your diet. Should be less than 3.5. This is 1.8. So again, yeah. So obviously, you're burning a lot of the cholesterol is normal.
After 4 weeks of eating saturated fats and over 120 eggs, my LDL cholesterol has increased, but my triglycerides have actually decreased. LDL cholesterol is really important for the body. It only becomes a risk when it gets oxidized through the presence of sugar. So with all this in mind, I'm actually at less risk of heart disease now than I was before I included so much fat in my diet.
It did take about 2 weeks, I think, to fully convert over. The first days you're tired and you can get really hungry.
Because your carbs are dropping, it's more your carb is dropping, and then your insulin level drop, and that's why you feel hungry. Insulin level starts dropping.
Yeah. So and I experienced that, and then it was just to eat as much as I wanted, and then it took about, like I said, about 2 weeks to feel up and about and feeling good again, and then since then you're running around football training and the cycling and things have been really good. So
okay,
feeling quite good at the moment, and the interesting one with we discussed putting on weight, or whether you put on weight or lose weight in it as well, and so we jumped on the scales, but I think I've lost a few kilos since since doing that as well. So that was an interesting one. I wasn't sure which way it would go. But.
So we were 84.45 last time. Let's check how much you weigh today. Good, hop on. Oh yeah, 81. Spot on.
There you go.
81.6, exactly. Just the Good. This time today is 135.70. Perfect.
Excellent.
For you.
Makes me feel better.
Yeah. So
it's going to be a mental challenge.
it is mental.
Sure.
It is. So it's not so much your body; it's the mind. It's a challenge of the mind as well for you. Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
Sure. Thank you very
Good
much.
luck anyway.
All right.
We'll
Yeah.
see you around.
Cheers.
Good luck. I'll be watching out for your progress.
There have been allegations that the Dietitians Association, accepts some funding from various food manufacturers, and that that can be an issue. And I think displays that they've had in public places probably supports that they do get some funding from food manufacturers. People get very used to conventional wisdom and thinking, and the dietitians have come up with the current nutrition guidelines. And I think, to be fair to them, they really are concerned about losing face in coming out and saying, well, look, we're sorry, we got it wrong. Doctors are also influenced by what they're told by specialists and foundations and health departments, and sometimes they're even under pressure to toe the line. People who are seen as not practicing in accordance with, in inverted commas, conventional thinking can face sanctions. So I think, there is pressure there. And I think there are a lot of groups who have invested a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of their own, a lot of themselves in this notion that we've told you to eat low fat, and they just don't want to lose face.
Do you know what that is?
No. Smiley face.
That's my shower. That's my 3 holes in the cap of a bottle. And then you just fill it with water, bung it on the end, and soap. See, there'll be hygiene. You better show this to my mum. My little pocket soaps. So that little thing. Look at that. Cool, eh? Super light. Yes. So basically that's set out bag by bag of what's going in. Food bags, heaps of nuts, protein powders, cacao nibs, and pea seeds. There's macadamias in here somewhere. Bit of jerky for protein, and then the oils as well. So I've got coconut oil in those ones. So it looks like urine, doesn't it? It's olive oil in those, so they're good for pure fat, basically. I feel a little bit nervous trying to get everything together. It's kind of like, this is it. I don't want to forget anything, but it's a bit. I don't know. I'm excited though. I kind of wanted to go. Like 2 weeks ago, I just wanted to go then, but now it's a bit more like, alright, a bit serious. So Saturdays we've got a barbecue down at Cottesloe, down at the Oval, the footy club. So we've got a bunch of bacon sorted, 120 eggs and tomatoes and spinach and everything. So we're going to do a bit of a cook up, and friends coming down this coffee van. So hopefully we get a few people along, and then we get as many people wearing the yellow shirts as we can, and ride up, cause a scene on Stirling Highway.
I was moving, this I know. Though I did the best I could, I'm alone. So please don't wake me. It's my fault, and I know, please let me be. And I know we won't hold blame. It was my fault, and I know I don't deserve love. It's my fault, and I know I don't deserve love.
The old duck that's worried that I'm not going to make it.
No, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. You'll be
You're
good.
just, what's your greatest fear, Mother? Go on.
A lack of water.
A lack of water.
Getting hit by a truck. You'll be fine. You'll be really good.
Anyone else would fail. Was just he's a weirdo. He'll do it. Yeah.
He's got the best attitude.
Very athletic, isn't he?
He's just like, well, fucking something happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And I know I don't deserve love.
Gives a man hug.
Yeah, kill it. Dominate.
I hope it works, Chris. if I bog out on day
2 oh, I've got no
day 2, I really need a Coca-Cola. Oh yes, of course. Look on the rear.
Please let me be. It was me, it was me, it was me. I've been a coward, yes I know. It was me, let me go. Yeah, I know it's my fault. I don't deserve love. It's my fault, it's my fault. I don't deserve love.
Hanging out in Brookton, and there's not much going on because it's a Sunday, which I didn't really think about. So I can't go to the butcher, which I was going to go to, and it's just kind of occurred to me that you can't just eat nuts. Although I do have a lot of nuts. I think there's a servo open, that might be it. So whatever the servo has for me, let's hope it's high fat, low carb. Yum. I went in to try and find some taco for this evening and started out the fridge. First fridge full of chocolate, second fridge is chocolate milks, all through the soft drinks. There's a few things on the shelves, mostly beans, spaghetti, pre-packaged rolls, basically, and then an epic display of pies and sausage rolls. But I pretty much couldn't eat anything except a carton of eggs. So we've got a dozen eggs for the second to eat. Yeah, not exactly proving that easy to get taco, especially Sunday. Rolled into Corrigan about 11, which is sick, 65 k's, but I feel a bit shit. I know I should eat, but I feel a bit, I don't know, a bit like queasy, like I don't want to eat. So I figured I'm probably a bit dehydrated, so I drank all the water that I've got. And then I went to RGA, got some milk and an apple and a bunch of chia seeds and nibs and protein in that. And got myself some fat. Just an update from Corrigan at lunchtime. 2 hours break and I had a bunch of water and good snacks and prosciutto, a heap of cheese, and turned out of town, and the road, I didn't know it, but the road kind of goes southwest, and so I had about a 45-degree to the tailwind, which was epic. It's funny how your mood is just determined by the weather. Whether it's raining, whether it's a wind to the tail, whether it's hot, whatever it might be, it's all about the weather. Howdy. We're at Hayden. This place here is called Hippo's Yawn, which is just on the track that goes around to Wave Rock. Cruisy 60 k's today, a bit slow. My right knee is killing me. Before we left, my left knee was a bit sore and I adjusted the cleats and it was alright, but my right knee is just killing me. Every pedal. I don't know what the score is at, it's a bit swollen and on the front too, so I might have to readjust pedals or something, but it's not fun. Check the weather, rain, southerlies, winds for the next pretty much 2 to 3 days, and I'm heading south for 2 days, so 124 k's tomorrow, it's a big one, so I reckon I'll rest up here for a bit and maybe try and knock over a couple of k's tonight and shorten it off. Sweet.
This wind is just demoralising. It's like straight on, straight from the right, straight from the left. Just so I'm in Bali. I was planning on doing 124 k's today from Hyden through to Lake King, but this crazy headwind just smashing me all day. So it took me 6.5 hours straight to get to here, which is 82 k's. So I decided I'll have a bit of a stop. So Perth, Brookton, Corrigan, Condon, Hyden, Bali, that's us. So 40 kilometres to Lake King, another 60 or 70 to Ravensthorpe, and then 180 through to Esperance. Sunny in Perth. Groundhog day, 30 degrees, blue sky every day. Some other towns, probably windy, wheaty, pollen, etc. Esperance, a little bit cooler, 23 degrees. The ocean, wet. We made it to Ravensthorpe, and you have the ups, you have the downs. That was pretty good today. We got from Bali 40 k's in to Lake King, and the wind was like side on, so it was okay. And the first 10 k's in, I thought my knee was gone, and I was thinking about calling it quits completely. At the moment, I feel like my body's just, it wants to keep going. It's just the physical like inability, lack of power in the knee. But as a like machine, I suppose, I feel fine ticking over, and I'm not tired at the end of the day. I just feel pretty good. So so far the diet, actually, I wouldn't say it's going well. It's going really well. I'm really stoked with it. 760 kilometres to this point. 8 days, feeling pretty tired, so a well-earned rest day. I might even jump in this ocean because it looks delicious. And make a breakfast shake. Depending if I've got milk. Milk's always good. Cream's fine. Cream's better, sorry, but water's okay as well. Got a couple of ingredients that go into it. So protein powder. Yeah, a little bit of vanilla. Set that in. I like to put desiccated coconut as well. Gives it like a chunky consistency to it, and it's also really high in fat, that one, so a really good energy source. Coconut chips. And then got cow nibs, just a couple of them. Very good, a good snack, a good pick me up, different flavour. And chia seeds. Howdy, it's, I have no idea what day it is, but it's wet, that's what day it is. It's a wet day, it's cold, it's 14 degrees outside. Who thought the Nullarbor would be wet and cold? So I did 60 k's from camp and came to Fraser Range, which is about 100 k's along the air highway. And they've been very nice. I said go into the camp kitchen, make a coffee, so I think I'm going to stay here tonight. And the local bloke who was here came in and he goes, "Oh, get out of the cold, come and stay." And he goes, "Oh, I've got you some cake from the next hall." So he's bought me banana cake and some chocolate pudding, which just looks delightful, and I really want to eat it because it's freezing and that's just what you want to do and have happy food, but I'm not going to. Well, I'll try not to anyway.
Sugar is a form of carbohydrate. So jargon is a problem in this sort of situation because in the bloodstream what we're talking about is glucose, which is the fuel that the cells work on. But When we talk about cutting out sugar, people immediately think of sweet foods or even, the teaspoon that they have in their tea or their coffee. But we're talking about sugars that are in foods that aren't necessarily sweet. So we're talking about breakfast cereals, we're talking breads, we're talking pastas, we're talking all grains, sweet or not sweet, that have carbohydrates. Now, the more refined they are, then the more quickly they're absorbed. The more quickly they're absorbed, the more quickly the blood sugar level goes up and the more insulin you need to release. So all of that is going to be a problem. If you have foods that are more slowly absorbed, that's much better, which is why vegetables, even though they do have some carbohydrates in them, get more slowly absorbed. The body has to break it down. It doesn't just spill quickly into your bloodstream.
All packed up. It rained again last night or this morning, so it was a late start. I didn't sleep very well. My clothes, which I use as a pillow, are starting to stink. I've got a saddle sore. It's annoying me. Motivation is pretty much low at the moment. The weather sucks. The highways out there, it's still straight. I've got 40 kilometres until the next turn. I don't even know if it's a left or a right. Let's hope it's a right. Let's hope it's a left. Actually, I don't really care. I don't really care as long as maybe there's 2 turns. That would be nice. They say there's no shortcut to any place worth going. And let me tell you, they put a shortcut between Balladonia and Carguna because neither of those places are worth going. That did my head in. How ridiculous. 146.6 k's without a turn, and this corner ahead of me is the most beautiful thing I've seen all day. Well, there it is. The state border. Just over 2.5 weeks to get here. Ready for a rest day. Pretty stoked, feeling good, so let's do it. I'm only happy when it rains. Woo! Some days are more fun than others. This is one of the fun days. I had the wettest day in 15 years here yesterday, which is pretty much what I copped last night. I had a bit of a shit day, freezing, the mice in the morning, just everything being wet. I'm going to take you inside, we'll have a look through the roadhouse.
Increasing fat and cutting out carbs has not reduced my intake of nutrients and vitamins. What healthy stuff could I possibly be missing out on by not eating the spaghetti in a bolognese or the bun off a burger? Unfortunately, out here, real food is off the menu, with snack foods and sugary drinks all that roadhouses have to offer.
This cheese. That's the first cheese I've had in about 1,100 kilometres. The first cheese I've been able to buy since Norseman. I've got frozen bacon and salami. So Norseman to Penang. It's taken almost 1,200 kilometres to get some of my favourites. Howdy, we're in Wodinya, I think is how you pronounce it. It's about 200 k's east of Ceduna. Pulled in, had a camp out on the road last night and pulled in just to grab coffee here at Alicia's Cafe. And on the shelf, to my surprise, is some raw coconut oil, cacao nibs, some protein powder, all organic, all raw,
And what an amazing little surprise to find. And I sat down and had a coffee, and the first lady that walked in was talking about low carb, high fat diets, and had a fantastic experience with her family, and changing over to the diet, losing weight, feeling better mentally as well, which is a really interesting thing to hear, not only physically. So it was a really good surprise in the middle of, well, it seems like nowhere, to come across some people doing a similar diet, and a real positive.
So this is Alex. I met Alex on the road out of, where were we?
I don't know.
Udina?
Udina or something.
Something like that. And he's cycled from Perth on his way to Adelaide as well. He's on a bit of a mountain bike with his backpack on his back. When I found Alex, he was riding in the on the other side of the trees next to the paddock.
Yeah,
and I had to yell with his headphones on. I was like, "Oi!"
I didn't realize first that someone, because you don't expect a cyclist. I mean, who is crazy enough to cycle?
It was interesting. We were chatting about food, so tell us what you eat for, during the day or for breakfast.
Yeah, well, kind of not really picky. What I get the cheapest stuff I can get from IGA or whatever, like home brand products.
Yeah.
So I'm used to eat actually for breakfast all the time oats.
Yeah.
And I think they're really good because keeps me going for a long time without getting hungry. I mix it with some random stuff. Sometimes I just drop pieces of chocolate in it. It melts. You just mix it up. Some banana, throw in whatever you have. You can mix everything, basically everything with oats, and it's really awesome, I think. And it's really cheap, like $1. You get a decent breakfast.
It's a big breakfast.
Yeah, it's a big breakfast. Yeah, I also add sometimes a couple of toasts with jam or something to it, with black tea. I love it.
Yeah. And then during the day, do you snack during the day?
Yeah, during the day I would like to eat like more, warm food or something, but there's no option for me. So I just eat like bread with tuna or ham with boiled eggs, whatever I have. Like, so I don't really think about what could be good for me or just anything.
Just get the fuel in, keep you going.
Yeah, sugar or fat, whatever helps. Whatever
keeps you going.
Yeah.
How do you think you would go if you were not able to eat chocolate?
Oh, Jude. It's a trick question, eh? Yeah, I love chocolate, so I always, when I'm in the town, I'm trying always to get chocolate. Yeah, and I'm getting crazy if I'm running out of chocolate. I need the sugar, I love it.
What do you think about the idea of not eating any sugar at all, or any fruit, and just having fat, so like creams?
I never thought about it actually, never, because I eat anything I can get, so but I love to eat chocolate, so probably not a good idea. Sometimes also honey is really good. Honey has heaps of energy, and mix oats with honey, get decent meal.
You don't have to do it 100%. If you make a move along the spectrum, so if we've got, high carb at this end and high fat at this end, you can move yourself along the spectrum without going 100% one way or the other, which once more, often people think, well, I have to do this 100%. Make some changes, instead of the bread and cereals for breakfast, try an egg or some full fat yogurt. If you still like to have a sandwich at lunchtime, look, okay, it's not the end of the world.
We're in Kimba. It is 45-kilometre winds behind us, but it is pouring down rain. It's freezing. Got my old man's tip. Bought some dishwashing gloves for the hands. Rugged up, got all my covers on, and we found this little pony club shed. So I'm going to hole up here for a little bit. Hopefully the rain passes and then get going. But today is one of those days that makes it tough. It's not exactly the easiest, but good company, some shelter, maybe eat some tucker and see if we can keep going. I really noticed today
how often we stopped. When I was with Alex, we'd stop, or he insisted on stopping every sort of 15, 20 kilometres, and we'd sit down and have a snack on, I think he was having honey on bread, and he was insisting, you know, every time we stopped that he was absolutely starving and he just needed to eat. And he said at one point, you know, of course I've got to eat, I'm human, I'm only human. And I realised, I said, oh, you know, okay, and I was eating nuts as well, and it sort of occurred to me today how little I actually eat during the day when we're exercising. So I continue along, I'll have my breakfast in the morning, and then each time I stop and fill up a water bottle, I might have a couple of nuts or something, but I really don't eat a big volume at all during the day, and it gets to dinner time and still I haven't got that hungry feeling. Yeah, it really is an interesting comparison.
The old carb loading that everyone would do, you would be burning that so quickly, there's no way you would last 6 hours. That's why these people that are doing that have to take the gels and take all these things with them. I'm guessing you could last the whole 6 hours from having a high fat meal before you start the 6 hours of exercise.
Oh, look at that, cooking away. So this is my pretty standard meal. Got some onion in there, a little bit of capsicum, some tomatoes, mushrooms, throw a few eggs in, all cooked in coconut oil, and then a few eggs and a bit of cream. It's like a omelette in a pot sort of thing, and avocado for entree over there. This is my freestyle setup. So good riding fuel for tomorrow. Very tasty. So, I made it to Adelaide. It's pretty epic. Always important to make sure the chain stays clean. I don't know if it's having a rest day or what, but the Adelaide Hills are so much fun. You work hard and then you get this epic reward on just flying down the roads behind me. The sun's out. This is sick. I don't know, I feel like euphoric, just having the sickest time. Yeah, this is cool. Weeks and 1 day, 3,300 kilometres to finally make it to my home state of Victoria. It's been a long trip. We've had lots of sunshine, lots of rain, lots of hospitality. Adelaide was fantastic. I got looked after in Murray Bridge, and last night in Tintinara I had specially ordered into town pork belly, and yeah, it's been a really good couple of days out of Adelaide. So about 450 k's with a few detours into Melbourne from here. So let's hope the weather holds out and head on home. Yeehaw!
smashing it. Absolutely flying. This is my old man about to come past. He's driven up from Melbourne in the van. He's like my travelling coffee van. You!
What I can't get over is like you get to the end of the day and you're not lacking any energy.
Yeah.
You're not hungry or starving or feed me up like you used to be with carbs. Like breakfast, you could sit down and eat 8, 10 Wheat Bix for brekkie. You'd have more for lunch and then you'd even have it for tea.
And then the funny thing, well, today we kind of forgot to eat lunch because I had, along the way I'd had a couple of pieces. Every hour I'd have a piece of beef jerky just to protein hit and keep going. But
Today?
Today as I was riding along. But yeah, we kind of stopped and forgot to stop for lunch because I had a tailwind.
You've done 130k, 6 hours. When you got here, you weren't like, you know, you can be at the end of a day of exhaustion. You're tired, people get hungry, they get angry. You're as calm and as flat, everything, cool.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. This is the new Warren.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But I really appreciate that.
I remember the days we used to go, or I'd go surfing and we'd surf for like 3 hours or something and get out of the water and annihilate a bakery with pies and fruit, and even like lots of fruit like bananas and
then you still come in and have a full meal for tea.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah.
You don't seem to need that.
Yeah, and you're right, and I feel different, and that's the bit that I'm amazed at, is actually riding along, you know, like doing these huge volumes of exercise, and then I stop and it's like, oh, I kind of stretch my legs and I just don't feel tired.
I gave my fortune out. Rolled up my shirt sleeves, punched my...
It's day 41 at Balan, which is about 82 kilometres from Melbourne. And the old saying when they say it's all downhill from here, well, it is actually all downhill from here to Melbourne. So another rainy, cold day. It's 6 to 11 degrees in Ballarat, and I'm icy, and yeah, I really can't wait to get to Melbourne town. So tomorrow we're going to stop here tonight, and then big downhill run into Melbourne town tomorrow. Stay in the CBD, and then the next day out to Wheelers Hill. So 41 days to here. 42 total. I can't wait until it is over.
Final morning to Melbourne town. It's about 7:15. Just chuck the wheelie on. Have a coffee, pack up this tent, pack the bike, and roll on home.
This is ridiculous. I can't believe it. It's like, I don't know, it's over. It's so weird. But it's cool, huh? But yeah, we made it to Fed Square. All the way. Just short of 3,800 Ks today. and about 190 hours of pedalling over 42 days and a couple of rest days, and yeah, and lots of fat. I ended up eating about 300 grams a day to power us through. Almost 3,800 kilometres, not a single chocolate bar, not a Red Bull can, not a Gatorade, no pies, which was really hard going to the bakery, not a single bottle of Coke. I mean, that's it. You know, there's all the traditional sports drinks, no spaghetti, no pasta, no bread. It's possible, you know, low carbs. As long as you get all your vegetables and your vitamins and you stay healthy, you can do anything without eating carbohydrates. When I told people I was going to cycle across Australia, they already thought I was crazy, doing it by myself. And then when I told them that I wasn't going to eat any carbohydrates or any sugar or any of the traditional fuels, as you like, they said to me, fat chance, there's no way you'll make it. And sure enough, it wasn't the case.
It's a real concern in anything in science at all when people start talking about any sort of science being settled. And that's across the board. Nothing is ever settled. We know more now than we knew 10 years ago and 50 years ago. What's a problem is when people say, because we thought this 40 years ago, we must be right and we can't change our view, even though new research comes out. So I think, you know, you get people, and I'll put my hand up with this, who feel the need to rattle the cage and say, look, you know, you've told us this, we thought it was a good idea, we now know better, we need to be moving on from old ideas.
I think people just need to try it for themselves. Everyone's an individual, just give it a go, see how you feel. And things can change very quickly. Your body changes quickly, your gut bacteria changes quickly. So experiment on yourself.
I used to eat 15 Weet-Bix a day. I used to think that carbs were the fuel, and if I was surfing, you know, a couple of hours a day, I'd just eat more and more. And after putting this, you know, new lifestyle through its paces, riding day in, day out, it's just proved to myself more than anyone that you just don't need to do that. And I feel so much better not doing it, not feeling bloated and all the side effects that we talk about and that I thought were just part of daily life, really aren't. And there is another option, and that's what I want to share with people and give them the opportunity to test it out. I mean, why would you not? Why would you not give yourself a couple of weeks and try it?
Someone like me. We could have it all if we didn't play these stupid games. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, but you probably don't care.
Hi, I'm Hayden from Clare. I've been eating low carb, high fat for 3 years now. The biggest benefit to me is I'm no longer bloated all day and all night.
Hey, I'm Emily from Adelaide. I started eating low carb, high fat about 2 years ago, and the biggest benefit I've found has been an improvement to IBS symptoms.
I've been following the high fat, low carb lifestyle for 18 months. One of the benefits I've noticed is improved mental clarity and increased energy during my workouts. I highly recommend it.
Hi, I'm Simon from Victoria. Since I've been on a low carb, high fat diet, I've noticed I'm not as bloated as much and I've been eating more cheese, which I really enjoy.
Hi, I'm Carl from Melbourne. I've been low carb, high fat for almost 2 years now. The biggest benefits I've found from eating this way is more stable energy levels and I get sick less often.
Hi, I'm Kate from Perth. The biggest thing I've noticed from eating a lower carb, higher fat diet is no more 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock crashes throughout the day and eating cheese boards guilt-free.
Hi, I'm Sandy from McLaren Vale. Since I switched to the high fat, low carb, my blood cholesterol really lowered and my doctor was absolutely amazed.
I'm Nelson from Perth and I've been on the low carb, high fat diet for about 3 years now. The biggest benefit for me would be not having the urge to snack between meals.
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm from Norway, but I'm living in Perth. I've been doing low carb, high fat for 2 months now, and the biggest change I've noticed is the weight just falling off, despite eating pretty much as I want for every single meal. So far I've lost 11 kilos in 2 months.
My name is David Churton. I live in Tasmania, LCHF,
for 4 years. Biggest benefit, I'm now no longer a diabetic.
Hi, my name's Cal. I've been on the high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet for about 3 months now, and the best benefit I feel is longer-lasting energy.
Hey, I'm Scott from Perth. I've been on low-carb, high-fat for about a year now. Started out just to see if I could reduce inflammation in my spine, but probably the biggest benefits actually since then have just been just more energy, lighter on my feet, more mental clarity, just feeling a little bit healthier.